Welcome, everybody. Today we have a very good show, and I hope that everybody enjoys what we're going to do today. We have a great interview. We have lined up Mr. Robert Righi, psychic medium and forensic psychologist, and we're dying to have him on. So, without further ado, let's have our intro.
Sit down, strap up, and shut up. Enjoy the ride. We cannot guarantee your safety or your sanity. Enjoy this story. But remember, you'll never get to your destination.
Welcome, everybody, and today we have Mr. Robert Righi with us. How are you doing this evening?
Good evening to you, Walter, and everyone who is listening. How are you, Walter?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. We've been dying to meet you and bring you on the show. Finally, we have you here.
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. I have some shout outs to do, but I will do that later if that is okay with you.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely,
Thank you, because like the people that I heard of you, I want to give them the shout outs especially. Okay.
absolutely.
Because I appreciate all the podcasts that I've been on and all the wonderful people that I have met and it's just wonderful. They talk about our community is not being unified. But when you get with the real people, with the good people, you know, the people who aren't in the paranormal field because of their ego, you know, and so these folks are wonderful. And so I want to thank those folks for allowing me to be on air and those folks who really connected me with you. So thank you for that. Thank you.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you. And so let's dive into it. Let's get right in the middle of it.
Okay.
Uh, you're a psychic medium. You're a forensic psychologist. Um, you have been a profiler, a criminal profiler for over 35 years.
That's correct.
Uh, Talk to us a little bit about that. How did you get started in all of this?
Okay. Well, I am a psychic medium. But that doesn't define who I am. What defines me is my heart. I am also gay, but again, being gay doesn't define who I am. My heart defines who I am. I I am a Catholic Christian, and my spirituality is based on that. I don't try to convert anyone to my way of thinking or to my spirituality, not at all. But for me personally, my Catholic Catholicism is very, very important to me. My first experience, and I say those things about being, and I'm also gay, because I want people to be very comfortable with me, Walter. You
Right,
know, I want people to feel comfortable with me. I want them to reach out to me. I want to assist them in any way that I can. So I want people to be comfortable in who I am and what I do.
right,
My first experience is when I was 4 years old, and I woke up during the night, and I saw a face of someone, but it didn't scare me. And it happened at 3 o'clock in the morning. And way back then, I was born in '54, and I'll be 67 in November. So my first experience was when I was 4 years old, and it didn't scare me. The next day, I talked to my mother about it, and it just went from there. It just got stronger and stronger. And, being a child of the '60s, born in the late '50s, one had to be very, very careful about talking about spirits,
right,
talking about experiences, because all the ones they wanted to put you to a psychiatric center, start you on medication, and those types of things. So I had to be quiet a lot of times about what I was experiencing and feeling. But as the years progressed, our society changed, our culture changed, and so I was able to be more free in who I am and what I do. And so I do many, many things within the paranormal field. I have experienced so much. In my experience, share with others because maybe they're experiencing the same things that I am and they have questions. And I want everybody to walk with me on my journey as I will walk with them on their journey. I think that's very, very important.
Right.
And so I do many things. And yes, I was a criminal profiler. And being a psychic medium, as well as having the degree in forensic psychology and all the experience, they work very, very well together. I think that's what really separates me from other psychic mediums is the fact of my extensive education within the psychological field. And so I come from both aspects. When I go into a residential setting, I'm there to help the individual. I am there to help them emotionally. I'm also there to help them within the paranormal field and what they're experiencing. And so when we get together, sitting around a table, having a glass of iced tea or whatever, and so they begin to tell me some things. And I always stop them because I know that everyone wants to tell their story, but I want them to sit back and allow me to tell them what I'm sensing and feeling. Okay? And we must always validate their experience because it's their experience, it's not ours. Okay. I know a lot of teams go in there and they want the evidence and such like that, and that is okay. But on the other hand, we should never lose sight of the people that we're trying to help. That's very, very important. And so I do many things within the paranormal field. I have, wow. I mean, I could list things, probably could take 2 pages in what I do. But again, I enjoy what what I'm doing. It's really my passion. It is my life. I believe that I was born to do that, to help other people. And so I'm here tonight to tell you some things about myself and my experiences. And maybe there's folks out there who need my assistance. Maybe they need my assistance in walking with them in their journey to help them in the way that I can. So at the end of the show, it was okay, Walter, that I will give my telephone number.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You can plug yourself in if you got a group. By all means, go ahead and do it.
Well, thank you. You know what? Years ago, I was in a group. Someone reached out to me, and so I entered that group. But I didn't stay very long because their egos were off the chain. You know, they thought they knew everything about the paranormal field, and really, no one does because the paranormal field is not an absolute science. It isn't. You know. And so when I hear someone say, "Oh, I'm an expert in this," or "Someone expert in that," I think, really, no one's truly an expert. There isn't. And so I kind of shy away from those people because their egos are so massive, you know.
Right,
And when ego is so massive, they lose sight of their passion regarding the paranormal field, and especially helping people. Because most of us are in the paranormal field for answers that is correct, but also to help the individuals that are needing help. That's why we do it for.
right. And you mentioned uh when you became a criminal profiler, being a psychic medium helped you a lot. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, very much so. Because there are times, and because I've learned over these many, many years I've been in the field to learn how to turn it on and off. And so there are some times that I turned it on, like doing an investigation in the case and such to assist the other detectives and everything. And so that has helped greatly. And there are other times where I don't use it at all. I use the forensic part. People will say, "Well, what is forensics?" Forensics basically is medical technology taken into the courtroom. That's all forensics means. It is.
Right,
And so I'm there to help folks. And being a criminal profiler, I saw the best of humanity and I saw the worst of humanity. I really have. And one of the folks that I met, and I'll just briefly talk about meeting Ted Bundy. There were other psychologists and I that met Ted Bundy.
really.
Yeah, and we can go, and it's very lengthy, And I don't want to get into it tonight, but we can talk about that later if you want to, Walter.
Well,
Okay.
absolutely, absolutely.
And so I do many things within the paranormal field. I must tell you that for many, many years, I shouldn't say many years, but for a year or so, I turned off completely my psychic and mediumship abilities. I turned them off. And the reason why is because a little girl in Florida was kidnapped. And I won't say her name at this time, and that's another story to go into. But the gist of what I'm saying is that I had reached out to the county sheriff in this area of Florida, and I reached out to them many times and said, "This is where she's at. She's still alive. You need to go see her." And they would just hang up on me, and that bothered me greatly, and that affected me for several years. And then I realized that I can only do so much, and this little girl understood that. So we can talk about this little girl at another time also. I've also been involved in two exorcisms that have been sanctioned by the Catholic Archdiocese of Chicago.
Right.
One was a gentleman whose name is Ken, and another person, a woman named Vivian. Totally different, totally two different stories of what happened to them. I can say just briefly about Kevin is that Kevin was delving into into the Ouija board and those types of things. He was an alcoholic. He was a drug addict, and he wanted these demons to come into his life. It was horrible, and he reached out to me, and how he reached out to me was by other people who they were at a St. Louis ball game, and and they were talking about me, and he overheard that. And then he turned around and asked him for my telephone number, and they gave it to me, and so he reached out to me. Now, in Vivian was born and raised, unfortunately, into a satanic family. She was ritually abused physically and sexually, emotionally, and she suffered from mental illness because of it. And her family reached out to me because they heard me on another radio program. And Vivian's story is so different because she had a lot of psychological problems and such. And so with her, because her personality splintered, as they say, that I had to integrate all the personalities except the one that was possessed. And that took a long time to do. I can say that both of these people are doing wonderfully now. They're doing great.
Great.
Okay.
Great. And that's important that you said that. A lot of people don't realize that the paranormal sometimes gets confused or traversed into, oh, he's just got mental problems or a mental illness, he's making up things, or he has an invisible friend, even. And personally, I've had certain paranormal experiences that make you doubt yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So reaching out to people like you can help greatly, and I'm glad that you're on the show, and I'm glad that we're talking about this, so that people know that it's all right. These things do happen, and if you want answers, we got people like Mr. Robert Righi here on our show. Take advantage of it. Let's listen to what this man has to say, because you know it goes so much more beyond what we think, and so much more beyond ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And so very much so. And so, like I've said, that it is my journey, but I want others to join me on my journey. I don't want to journey on this earth by myself. I think it's very important that we have other people to join with us, and I'm there to join them on their journey. And it's going to be a bumpy road at times. There are valleys and peaks, and that's how life is. And that's what life is all about. And so I am there to assist others. And I know that I have made a lot of changes in people's lives. I know that because they will contact me years later and tell me that they're doing wonderfully. And I always do that, Waldo, and everyone who's listening, is that I just don't meet with them one time. And it's not that I charge them at all. I don't. I mean, there's somebody, there's some folks in the paranormal field will charge whatever the amount is, and I understand people have bills to pay. I understand that totally. Okay. But it's just a fact if we're in the field just for financial gain, and then I think that we need to get out of the field, because they're doing it for the wrong reason. There's a lot of scammers out there. There's a lot of people I call leeches. There are a lot of people that take advantage of those who are experiencing such horrible, horrible things within the paranormal field. And so these people reach out to them, and they just milk them for every dime they have. When the money is gone, and then the team is gone, or the psychic medium is gone, or the empath is gone, and
Mm-hmm.
that bothers me greatly. So I do many things within the paranormal field, and some other things that I do, Walter, and everyone who is listening, is that I mentor 15 children, in which I will call the children of the paranormal. There are so many children out there who have such wonderful, beautiful abilities and gifts, but they're scared. They don't know what to do with them. No one's understanding them. And at this minute, Walter, and I have said this before, that there are some children and some teens right now are contemplating suicide because they're not understanding and what they're going through. And their parents don't understand what they're going through also. And society
Right.
doesn't know what they're going through. So they want to put them into a psychiatric hospital. They want to put them on medication. We live in a culture now that everyone has to be medicated for something, you know? But at times, medication makes things a lot worse. I'm not saying for people to stop their medication, not at all. But I'm just saying that we need to reach out to those who are questioning their own abilities and gifts, and give a lending hand out to them and help them. And these children, these parents reach out to me because they have reached out to other psychic mediums and other people, and they just melt them financially. And a lot of these people are very poor. A lot of them are very rich who have contacted me, you know. But these children, these children had gone through so much. Their parents never understood what they were going through, and so the parents kind of pushed them away. And we push someone away enough, long enough, then they will never come back to it. I
Right.
always, I always say that if we allow our children to come to us with the most trivial things, and then those children will come back with the most important things because they know they can trust their parents. They understand their parents will be there for them. And these children were getting horrible grades in school. They they were loners. They were in their rooms. They didn't know how to turn on and off their abilities and talents and gifts because at school they were being bombarded by all these spirits at the windows, sometimes inside the schoolroom, and they could not concentrate at all. A lot of these children they started to be addicted to different things, and so these children were really, really needing help. And by the grace of God, their parents heard of me, and these children now are doing beautifully. I have instructed these children to how to turn their gifts and their talents off and to use them wisely and appropriately. And now their parents also embrace the gifts and talents of their children. They may not understand it and they may never understand it because no one else in their family has those talents and gifts possibly. But these children, they network, they talk to each other on the phone. They know they're not alone. Their parents, if they have any questions, they will reach out to each other and stuff like that. We do meet several times a year, and those individual families that have reached out to me, that I have met them personally, and I have talked to their child personally.
So that's important what you're saying right now, and I wanna dig a little bit into that. Some people might not know what's going on in their lives. Some people, like we just discussed, think that they're having psychological issues, or their parents might think they have psychological issues, which leads them to taking them to weird treatments, and I've even seen people being electrocuted. And so tell the community, tell everybody watching us, what could be from your experience that you have seen, what are things that you may lead people to believe that they're crazy, but they're actually experiencing a talent for the paranormal.
Yeah.
How can they define or figure out what's going on with them? What have you seen that they can relate to and say, oh, you know what, he's right, you know what I mean?
Many of the children have talked to me, like I speak to them personally, and they will tell me of their experiences. They will tell me that they see things, that they hear things. Some kids will talk about seeing ghost dogs. And so they go to their parents and say, look at that dog out there and everything. And their parents think they're crazy. You know what I mean? And other children, especially preteens, the preteens that are changing emotionally and physically. So they have all this energy. And this one girl, and I can say her first name, her name is Brianna. And Brianna lives in northern Illinois, and I live in Illinois, but right now I'm in New Mexico. And 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 Brianna could move things. She,
Telekinesis.
yeah, she 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 had so much energy from from what is going on physically with her changing, from a child into a woman. Okay. And so she had all this excess energy and stuff like that. And she moved things right in front of me. And also that I would go into another room and I would say, Brianna, please move whatever, right? And she could move it.
Wow.
And her family saw that. It scared the hell out of them. It really did. It would scare the hell out of anyone if no one understood what was going on. Her father, a corporate lawyer in Chicago, had reached out to me to take Brianna to a psychiatric hospital to have her admitted and put on medication. And by the grace of God, they reached out to me. And now Brianna is doing beautifully. And she is helping other children herself and her family. And like I said, so we meet. In COVID, we never met. And so we did a lot of online and such like that. Call them, talk to them. The children call each other. They have questions. You know what I mean? And the parents can reach out if they have any questions. And some of the families are very poor, and others are very wealthy. And so you can see that that paranormal activity just doesn't happen to poor people or middle
Yeah, it
class.
doesn't have any boundaries.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And so a lot of these folks cannot afford to meet with us. And so what we all do is that we put our money together to make sure those families who are in our group, that all of us can meet together in a central location. We pay for their gas, we pay for their room, we pay for their food and stuff like that, because it's very, very important to do that. And so I've been with these children and these families for 7 or 8 years, and they're doing wonderfully. They really, really are. And for me, I always have to follow up. And so if I'm called in to help someone, it just isn't one time. I continue to do that because follow up is very, very important. And Walter and all my brothers and sisters that are watching this, I say that what is happening is like it's like an onion. In an onion, there are many layers. And so we have to begin to peel back the layers of the onion, the layers of what is going on, so we can get to the core of the situation, to the core of the problem. By understanding the core of the problem, that is the first step. And again, a lot of groups go in and they don't really take the time to, talk to the individual or to the family. And before you know it, they're setting up the equipment and, God bless them for using all that. But people need to really, the teams that are out there really need to take specific time with the families and really listen to them, who they are and what they do. you know, and and be there for the families. And again, that we must validate the individual's experience because it is not our experience; it is their experience.
Correct.
We must also so we need to validate because at times that teams go in there and may not find a thing. They may not have any evidence at all. So they will tell the family, no, there's really nothing here. But in fact, there is. We almost, all of us have to realize that the spirits don't come out like trained animals. They will come out when they want to. They will, you know? And so that doesn't mean that the family's not experiencing anything. If a team goes in there and they don't have any evidence, they don't get any evidence, that doesn't mean that nothing is going on. It means that those spirits at that time are very silent. So we have to keep coming back. We have to change sometimes the method in what we are doing. But
Right.
these children that I'm working with, like I said, a lot of them had contemplated suicide. I know that two of the children that I worked with and still work with, they started to self-mutilate themselves because they felt dead inside. And to see the marks on their arms and their legs from a razor or from a tin can that they split open and began to cut themselves. And the reason why people self-mutilate themselves is because they feel dead inside, but they know when they see the blood that they are alive.
Wow. That's
And these
amazing.
children and these children now are doing beautifully. They really are. And so I thank my creator. And I believe that God puts us where we need to be at any given time. There's always a reason for everything. We may not understand that reason in this very moment, but in time we will. So those are some of the things, like I said, the exorcisms and working with these children, meeting Ted Bundy, and other things that I have experienced that I want to share with others. Because maybe there's somebody out there who is experiencing the same thing, you know,
Yeah.
here on others, and they need assistance. You
And
know,
just saying, parting from that premise, everybody has felt something different.
mm-hmm,
Uh, what exactly? When did you know you were a psychic medium? At what point? You say you had an experience at 4 years old, but when
right.
did you actually realize, hey, maybe there's something more going on here?
After when I first experienced that when I was 4 years old, during that time, I did not know what the word psychic meant. I was 4 years old, 5 years old, 10 years old. I never knew. I didn't know what the word psychic meant until I was in high school. You know what I mean? People
Hmm.
never used it like they are using it today. I had no idea what a medium was. The only thing I knew medium is medium rare. You know, you know, a medium rare steak, and so I began to read. That was back then, back when there were no computers, anything like that. You just went to a library and read that, and there wasn't much about mediumship. Well, I mean, there were books and such, but it really didn't. It went into detail, but the books I read didn't resonate with me. And that's one thing about the field is that my mediumship is going to be different from others, and my psychic abilities are going to be different from others also. Okay, so we must agree to disagree at times, and we must do it respectfully. So as I got older, I because of things that I was experiencing, I didn't know how to turn it on and off. I was being bombarded constantly. Okay, and let me tell you the psychic part of me. Okay, so, Walter, I am talking with you, and you are alive physically. And right now, and I see little blocks, the blocks of children's blocks that have the letters on them. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So I see your name, Walter, yes. And you're not a woman, so there's no lace on your block, and you're standing up, sitting upright. So that means that you're alive. And so I see pieces of puzzle. And when I open the floodgates to the spirits, as I say, that everyone will come in, Walter, that knows you or knows of you, It could be a relative, a friend, and who, whatever, right? Because the spirits want their stories to be told also. They really do. They want to have a platform also. So I see pieces of puzzle. I have to put those pieces of puzzle together. And Walter, and everyone who is listening, that at times that things are so obvious in our lives that we don't see them. They're
Right.
right in front of our face and we don't see them. Now, I have two angels, Mary Angelina, who's just a baby, and Raphael, the archangel, and they assist me. And the little girl, Angelina, is so beautiful, beautiful little baby. She only lived 4 hours before God called her home. And we can go into that into another program and talk about Angelina. And when I'm not getting it right, she will pat me on the head like a kid, little baby, or she'll stroke my face, or she will laugh in my ear. And when she laughs in my ear, that is an indication. Robert, are you that damn dumb? Are you stupid? Are you stupid that you can't see that? And then there's more clarity and such like that, you know? And so it just has gotten stronger and stronger. I was really fascinated with all the paranormal shows when they first came out, everything. But now I don't watch I don't watch a lot of those at all. A lot of it's theatric. A lot of it is just scripted. I went to Ashmore Estates. I don't know if you heard of Ashmore Estates, Walter.
No, I haven't.
Ashmore Estates is in Illinois, and so I went there because it really bothered me that these people who buy these poor farms or state asylums and such like that, they made them to a Halloween attraction. And I understand that people have to make a buck. I understand, but people must realize that these people who had to go to those places, they had no choice, and so that was their home. And I had seen that on Ghost Adventures, and so I went there. This was many years ago, and so I talked to the gentleman at the time who owned it, and we're friends to this day. He doesn't own it anymore. And so I asked him about the Ghost Adventures team being there. And he said, Robert, he said the majority, everything that everyone saw was scripted. Everything was scripted,
Wow.
you know? And so people must understand that these shows are for entertainment. They are. People want to be scared. People want to, you know, they want to see these things.
They want to be fascinated.
Yes. Oh, yes. Very much so. And so talking to this gentleman, because in the very beginning, and right now I can see it in my mind's eye, that this gentleman had like a stove top hat on and a long black coat, and there was a cow that was tethered out in the grass and crap like that. And this gentleman told me that everything was scripted. This is what Ghost Adventures wanted. This is what the production staff wanted to make it creepier, you know. And I told him, I said, I understand that people have to make a buck, and they made it into a Halloween attraction. But again, it just bothers me that this is someone's residence, and again, these people had to go there. They had no choice. Okay, and there was a lot of gore and crap like that on it. But by the grace of God, 2 months before I went there was a tornado that lifted the roof off, and so a lot of the spirits were released. Thank God. And so when I was there, I sensed and I felt something, but nothing like what Ghost Adventures had talked about at all. Nothing. And
Wow.
so people must realize that it is, a lot of these shows are for entertainment, and they are. And with being animals, being human beings, we like to be scared. We like to be known. A lot of people are drawn to that. Unfortunately, a lot of people become obsessed with it, you know and that's one thing that is very, very dangerous within our field if someone becomes obsessed with it.
That is
Obsessed,
true.
obsessed
Because, I
with
mean, everything is one step away from opening the door for a demon to come in and, well, in your experience, how have you seen that inner lap?
Oh, very much so. There are some cases that I was called on to, these people reached out to me, or family members will reach out to me, and say my mom or my dad are doing this or my children are doing that and whatever. And we dabble with they get into the black art, they get into black magic, they get into the Ouija board. And I know my brothers and sisters who are practitioners in the Ouija board society community, and they use it, and God bless them. But it's just the fact that someone doesn't know what they're doing with it, it can become very, 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 very dangerous. So I don't use it personally. I don't, not at all. And and so I tell people, I said, I always tell folks if they want to get into the Ouija board, get with someone who knows what they're doing and make sure they know what they're doing. Just because they're saying, like, oh, I know about the Ouija board and I do this and and I'm an expert and everything. Make sure that they are, okay? Because life is a portal as it is, you know, and I mean, the Ouija board is just another portal. I must tell you though that I have used a Ouija board in high school and nothing, nothing at all, nothing, not a thing, And so I just closed it and just put it back, and that was it. But a lot of people do experience it. A lot of kids in their teenage years will experience it when they're drunk or when they're high and those types of things. And so when someone is drunk, someone's high, you know, they become very vulnerable. They do, and a lot of things can happen during that time. So I just recommend to people that if you are going to use the Ouija board, just remember it's just not a game. It's not a game. It's serious. Get with someone who knows what they're doing. Okay. So my progression in the paranormal field. Well, what was that?
I'm sorry, that's my phone. I
Okay.
I had
No.
a very personal encounter. So how I got into this world was I had an encounter with a Sasquatch, and the only sound that I could find that was closest to it was Chewbacca for my text phones.
Oh, I see. Oh, I thought maybe. Okay, I thought maybe you were going to say the Sasquatch called you. The Sasquatch called you. That's one thing, Walter, that I want to know more about. I've heard about Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and the skunk apes. That I went to school in Florida, lived there for many years, and so I want to hear your experience with that. Okay.
Well, my experience with Bigfoot, um, it was a weird one. So I met a person where I work, and he is very much so into the paranormal, and he likes to investigate places. And one day we got to talking outside of work, and he started talking to me about Bigfoot, something I knew nothing about. And
Hmm.
well, I said, well, we should do something one day together, go out there, whatever, and see what's going on. So one day we choose to go to this place in Texas, and at most I thought that we were gonna just spend the night out, hang out, have fun, talk a little bit, and go home. That's it. And well, the whatever happened, and we had that Sasquatch, and by saying Sasquatch, there was more than six at one point where we were surrounded in the middle of the woods. There's
Wow.
no exit. There's only one way in and one way out. And if that would have been blocked, we would. I mean, I think we would have been done at this point. We were all very nervous. The first thing when we got there that I noticed was there was a scat against the tree, and I didn't recognize this type of scat. And it was at the edge of a creek, and from the other side there was this low growl that
Mm-hmm.
just made me feel the insides, my chest vibrating or resonating to this low growl. And it was very, very intimidating, scary. It was like mixing a demon with a lion type of thing. And man, it was scary. We were, it was three of us at that time, and we got really scared. And it turned into us huddling in the middle, because it's kind of a circle, the area, and then everything else is dense forest.
Mm-hmm.
And out of nowhere you started hearing this cow, and you start to think, how does a cow fit you know in between all these trees? It's
Right.
not possible. Then they started imitating coyotes, but then at the end they would get excited and they would go into a simian yell, like "Ooh, ooh, 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 ooh." Man, it was scary. It was just mind insanely scary. And here I am thinking to myself, what is this? Your world gets turned upside down, because not everything that you thought was real, all of a
Mhm.
sudden you question.
Right.
And this applies to the paranormal world as well.
Yeah. Good. Yeah.
And I remember at some point somebody said, over there, over there, and I ran towards that direction. I pulled my gun out. I'm former military, so whenever I fear for myself or others,
Mm-hmm.
my instinct kick. So I pull out my gun and I run towards the edge of the creek, and then, I yelled something like, if you're a human, show yourself or I'll fill you with lead, something to those whereabouts. And out of behind this tree, this big, massive tree, and 9.5 feet tall, a head pops out and just looks at me. Serious, not moving, not a mouth open, no nothing. I mean, this thing was just frightening to the core. He goes and he hides back in. He does it a second time. By the second time, I already know, if this thing is gonna kill me, he's gonna kill me. And this gun that I have in my hand is gonna do absolutely nothing
Mm-hmm.
but piss it off.
Mm.
And then he's gonna probably just grab me and shred me to pieces. So
Mm-hmm.
I turn around. I'm about to turn around, and he shows himself, and you can see his massive shoulders behind the tree.
So was
And
he about how tall was he, Walter?
9.5. We went back and measured it.
Mm.
About 9.5, 9.5 feet tall, and shoulders probably about 5.5 feet.
Mm.
Broad shoulders.
So what were
And
the excuse me, what were the other Sasquatch doing when this one was peering out
so
from
it
the
seemed
tree?
it seemed like they were so it seemed like they were communicating, and it seemed like they were trying to position themselves in a way where they could funnel us away from the exit and
Mm.
into the forest.
I see.
So I mean, in the video, because we got video of all this,
Oh
you could
wow.
see eyes all around the forest. Eye shine all around the forest. Some of them would start out at ground level, and then they would stand up and move away. So
Mm.
you realize, wait, what the hell was that? You know, and I estimate that we were at least surrounded about 6 or 8 of them, and they were not happy at all. They were
Mm.
screaming. They threw rocks at some time. At some points, they threw logs at us. Uh,
So do you think they were out to hurt you or just scared and wanted you to get away from their territory? Because because they're not animals like what we are, and they are very social in what I've read, and
well,
so they want
if you
their own.
if you would have asked me that at the moment that it was happening, I would have told you they want to kill us,
Mm,
right? Because I knew nothing about them. I wasn't aware of anything. I
right.
was very green. It was my first experience. Now,
Mm,
looking back in retrospect, I think that we interrupted them doing something, and they were trying to tell us, get out while you can. Get out. We're giving you a choice. Get out. Get out. And I think that they were exerting themselves over their territory. I'm sorry. And they were letting us know, we're the big show, and you need to go.
mm. So would you say this was a family unit?
I would say it's a pod. It's a pod
And
because
so do you
they're very social creatures. They hang out together.
right? So you call them a pod, a unit, and then do you know how many are in any specific pod or unit? Or
Well, most of what I've learned, again, it's either reading from other authors who have a lot of experience, or either with the group of people that we meet. Joe DiOyos, Will Jevnings, Shane Church, Mr. Gave, Javier, and just like Joe says, 6 to 9 in a pod is about as good a number as you can get. And actually, I think that's what Joe. There you go. Joe says 6 to 9 in the clan.
hi, Joe. So there's 6 to 9 in the pod. Can you distinguish between a male and a female?
Yes,
Is,
you can most definitely.
is it a patriarchal or
You have an alpha in most instances,
Mhm.
and you also have matriarchs in others. It depends on the group. It's just like any other group of simians out there in the wild.
I see. Okay. So during this time, did you see little Sasquatches, little ones?
I have not seen a little one. I have seen prints of little ones next to big prints. So what
Oh,
I'm assuming, mama and child, through the forest, mama's teaching him
mhm.
how to jump from point A to point B.
I see. Do they also climb trees or not?
They are known to climb trees. Yes.
I see. Okay. So can you explain to me, and I know I'm asking you a lot of questions because I want to learn, okay? And what is the difference between a Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Yeti, and a skunk ape? Or are they all the same thing? Just called
Well, there's
very
four types. There's four types that at least Will Jevnings have deciphered.
right,
In between the names, it varies from region. If you go to
mm,
Tibet, it's called Yeti.
right,
If you go to Australia, I think it's the Yowie. So everybody has a different name. And if you go back in history, and this is something that I wanted to kind of dab in with you, uh, the Native American used to call it, the hairy man.
oh, okay,
So if it doesn't matter what timing or what period you really want to dive into the world of Bigfoot, you will always find something there, up to including going back to the Native American. They knew that they were here.
right. Oh, yeah, very much so. And I'm sure when it comes to Australia, they,
Say that again. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, someone's mowing outside. I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the Aborigine people in Australia, and I'm sure that's part of their tradition, of Bigfoots and such like that. Okay. And do you know of any of Australians that have seen Bigfoot?
Yes, I have heard them on Will Jevning's show, and their encounters are very dramatic. Usually, very bad tempers.
So they're different. So they're different from North American Bigfoot?
All Bigfoots in general have bad or short temper. Let me say short temper.
Okay.
They can get annoyed very quickly. Even so, one of the most prominent things, if you want to piss off or get one of them angry, is start smoking in front of them.
Oh, well, okay. Well,
They'll
okay.
get scared to death. They'll be terrified when you exhale smoke.
Okay. Well, okay. Well, I will have another one in their honor.
But yeah, it intrigues them, and it both scares them and intrigues them.
Hmm. Okay.
And I know I went on a trail, and I was with a very good friend of mine, and he was smoking out of
A vapor?
a
A vape?
vape, and the top fell off, and he was exhaling, and he
Mm-hmm.
bends over to go grab it, and a rock gets thrown at him, and I mean it was coming pretty hot, pretty fast. And
Mhm.
then from behind us, it started throwing logs at us. So we kind of put our arms up in the air. It was okay. We understand. We get it. We're leaving. This is your house. We
Right.
turned around and they just kept throwing stuff at us the whole way we were walking out.
Do you think that Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti, do you think that they are afraid of you as we are afraid of them?
I think they might have been afraid of us at a certain point in history. Like everything else, we evolved
Hmm.
and we grew out of whatever we were at the point that they were afraid of us. I know that
Right.
they're afraid of us when we come back in numbers. And I know that they know very well what a weapon is, and they know when
Oh.
we're holding one. And
Mhm.
and and there's a fear that it's installed in their DNA, just like we fear a shark just by looking at it.
Right.
So it's imprinted in your DNA, and that's how you instinctively instinctively
Hmm.
react to something you don't understand. You become afraid. So I think that we're both respectful of each other. I just think that we humans are a bit more ignorant, and I think curiosity killed the cat.
Yeah.
And when we try to exceed our limits with these creatures,
Hmm.
they'll put a stop to it. So are they afraid of us? No. Do Are they wary of us? I think so.
I see. Why do you think, Walter, that no one has ever captured one? And I really hope in my heart and my soul that a Sasquatch is never captured, because I think that would be horrible. But why don't you think that someone hasn't really captured one or had really definitive proof that
I
they
think I
exist?
think these animals like to live, in a remote area. I know there's a point in history, and I don't know if Joe is still watching, but he can correct me if I'm wrong. At one point in our history, there was a war between humans and Sasquatch, and that's actually written in history.
Oh,
I don't recall the full details of it. I do remember reading it, and uh, the Native Americans were friends with Sasquatch until one point something happened that everything broke left and right, and we separated from that point in time. And are we gonna catch one? I doubt it. And I would be very, very, very disappointed if the way to find it would be by killing one, because they're in their element. Let's face it, the ones that were invading their homes is
right.
us.
Amen.
Human growth, we're a cancer. Humans are a cancer. We're a virus. We just spread and spread, and we break what's in our path, and we tear forests, and we break down trees for commercial purposes, as to
Right.
where these creatures, they don't know any better. They
Hmm.
are out in their homes in nature. They become one with nature. We wonder why it's so hard to find them. I mean, look at their coats. They're made to perfectly blend in. And so I think that we're the ones that invade their homes, basically.
I
And
see.
I don't think that they'll let you see them whenever they feel comfortable.
So just like a spirit, it's just like in the spirit realm. But when the spirits want you to see them or to experience them, then they will.
Right, right. I guess you could, in that sense, you can compare it as well, because a Sasquatch will not let you see him unless he has the upper hand.
I see. I
What
see.
what from the sightings and experiences that I've had personally, I believe that they are very smart hunters, and I think that when they see us humans, I think they like to the teenagers like to train, if that's if that may be the word, but they'll let you see him, but you don't know that behind you have about three or four of them.
I see. Well, you know what? On some of these shows, like on Coast to Coast with George Norrie and old Art Bell years ago, that a lot of people say that there is a connection between UFOs and Sasquatch. Can you say anything about that?
I haven't witnessed anything that would lead me to think that there's a link.
Hmm.
I do know that there are instances where a lot of paranormal events occur during or after a Sasquatch encounter,
I see.
if that makes any sense.
It does.
So if I go, there's a site that I go to a lot to do my research, and if I
Mhm.
bring an EMF, my EMF is gonna go crazy insane. All our batteries are gonna drain, and then Lord and behold, Sasquatch is
Mhm.
around.
I
Now,
see.
is it linked to them? I don't know. Is it linked to the land? I don't know. We would need more research for that. I
See.
would need more data.
I see. And also, have you ever taken the audio? I mean, yeah, the audio into a forensic audiologist to have that specific person who is an expert in that field to understand their language. Have you ever done that?
Well, no, and there's a very simple reason for it. Nobody, we still have no experts in the field of Sasquatch.
I.
If you really look at it, Sasquatch didn't really became known until the internet came out,
Hmm.
or even Patterson and Gimli, their
Right.
film. That's when
Right.
it became known. You know.
Right.
So if you we're in 2021, you really want to. I mean, who can be an expert? We don't know a lot about these creatures.
Well, the experts that I'm talking about would be the forensic audiologist. The forensic audiologist has a degree in audiology, language, and such like that. So that's why I was asking.
Well, I think these creatures are excellent at mimicking,
Mimicking
and
us, mimicking us.
they can mimic us. They can mimic animals.
And so how do they mimic us? Explain that to me.
So there, you can hear the young ones can imitate kids talking, having a conversation.
How do they
We
use?
they we don't know if they have two sets of vocal cords or how they do it, but they're very good at it. Uh, they have the famous samurai chatter where they start talking to each other. I mean, obviously we're not gonna understand what they're saying, but it
Right.
sounds something to the effect of "Konnichiwa, konnichiwa," and
Mhm.
you start hearing that in the forest, and you're like, "Wait, what?" Sometimes they sound like two women talking. You
I
don't
see.
understand a word they're saying, but it sounds like there are women in the forest. And if you didn't know any better, you'd be like, "Oh my God, there's a couple of girls missing in the forest."
Right.
And then you go and try to find them, and that's when issues happen.
Right. As human beings, and probably Sasquatch too, that we do have two sets of vocal cords, and the Tibetan monks have learned how to use both sets. It's called echolalia. Echolalia would be that I would be talking right now, and then all the ones I would be talking simultaneously as I am now. It's called echolalia. And maybe that's what they do. Maybe that they have learned to do that out of their own self-preservation. I'm not sure.
Probably, probably. I mean, when you see, if you want to really approach this from a scientific perspective, if you
Hmm.
go to Africa and if you want to really study an animal, you have to learn how to study, apes first, simians, monkeys,
Right,
and you learn from their behaviors. And there's different tribes of monkeys that, even though they're not the same species, they tolerate each other in the same area.
right.
However, if one sees an eagle and makes a call, they all recognize the call, and they take evasive action. I think that the same thing happens with Sasquatch. I think they learn to mimic and make all these noises, for self-preservation.
Hmm. And And another question, and I know I'm asking you a lot of questions because I want to learn, and
Well, I know, absolutely.
you know, how how did you get into that? What drew you into learning more about Sasquatch?
So the moment I had my experience, it was very difficult to process. And thanks to Will Jennings and Joe the Oyos, they I told my story in the Will show, and then Joe has been mentoring me ever since then. And I want to say thanks to Joe. He's been guiding me slowly but surely.
Hmm.
He gives me answers. If he doesn't know, he doesn't know.
Right.
He's a no BS type of guy. He'll tell you straight up like it is.
Hmm. Yeah.
And he's been a wonderful person to be around because he teaches me a lot. Every day it doesn't go by where I don't learn something from him.
Hmm. Wonderful. So with the Sasquatch, and so there's little ones, big ones, there's males, there's females. Have you ever noticed that each Sasquatch look different from the other one, or not? Or will they have the? Will they?
Well, just like human beings, we all look different. So does Sasquatch.
Okay, some of them will have darker hair or fur.
Yeah.
Okay, so have you seen the eyes of a Sasquatch?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, you have. Now, when you've seen those eyes, are the other eyes of the Sasquatch the same thing? Or are they different?
Well, it depends by type. So there's four types. So there would be four different types.
Right.
And along those four types, you got your regional. So your facial features, or your eye features are going to change slightly, but not a
Hmm.
whole lot. Same consistency. Their eyes will glow through night just because of the eye shine, the reflection of light on their
Right.
eyes.
Would you say they are carnivores or are they
Absolutely,
vegetarian
absolutely.
meat? I understand. Have you ever, like, when you're out into the forest or in the woods and you're doing investigation and such, have you seen other bones of animals, of maybe possibly that they have killed, and
Yes.
that's the bones you have?
Yeah.
And so these bones are like of wolves or coyotes, raccoons,
Well, in the
possums,
in the it varies, but in this area is more common to see hogs, hogs
hogs.
and hogs and deer.
Okay. So these hogs would be wild hogs. I think in Spanish we would say they're javelina.
Yeah,
I see. Okay. So this
and
is,
usually what they do is they break their hind legs
oh,
while
they
they
do.
go hunt. They break their hind legs while they go hunt more for more animals. And so when you see a carcass, the most common thing is you see the hind legs broken. They'll take the insides out and they'll just leave the carcass.
Wow. Wow. That is fascinating to me. That's interesting to me. It really is. So do you think that a skunk ape from Florida could survive in the Pacific Northwest or survive in Texas?
Oh,
Or would,
absolutely, absolutely. We got to remember these are wild creatures and they adapt. They are very good at adapting. They've been doing it for years.
mm-hmm. So what do you want to find out for your own personal information? What do you want to find out about the Sasquatch?
Well, I would like to continue on studying them. Learn their habits, so that we can educate people the appropriate way.
Hmm.
And what I mean by that is so that we learn to stay away from its house. It doesn't mean stop going camping. It doesn't mean stop going to the forest and have fun. It
Hmm.
just means have a self awareness that you're not alone in these woods. Have certainty that you should always exercise caution when you're traveling in the forest. And if you
Right.
happen to see one, just do the smart thing. Turn around, go the other way.
Hmm.
There's no reason why to antagonize these creatures.
But a
I mean,
lot of
unless you want to be a sandwich for them.
but a lot of times, like you said, that curiosity kills the cat. than it does, you know. And so a lot of people, if they saw one, they would try to follow them. They would
I would
okay.
advise them not to. Even researchers, and I am not referring to myself as a professional researcher because I'm not. I'm very green.
Hmm.
I'm still learning as I go every single day.
I see.
But what I have learned from professional researchers is to always maintain a safe distance.
I see.
We're studying these animals that are alive, and they are very self-aware of our presence, and they're massive, they're big. We might not understand that, but they are very powerful creatures, and just like a shark's way of touching you is by putting your arm in his mouth and
Right.
gently biting, their way would be probably to grab your arm and lift you up and rip you apart.
I see. And they do it not out of anger or being mean, but that's just instinctive to them, correct?
I would now these are waters that I would be theorizing about. So I would theorize yes.
I see. I see. See that, and so I've said this many times, there are so many things within the paranormal field, you know, and that's one field that I've never gotten into. I mean, I read a lot about Sasquatch. I am fascinated with it. I go into the forest a lot wherever I'm at. And like I said, I'm in New Mexico, and there's a lot of forest here in New Mexico. And I've never experienced one. And sometimes I believe that I'm not supposed to experience one.
If I had a chance, or if I had the opportunity to avoid having my interaction, I would have taken it.
I see. I see. Several months ago, I was in northern Arizona, in southern Utah at Zion National Park, and it's beautiful, lots of woods.
Right. Yeah.
But, and I thought in my mind, maybe I will experience one. But there are thousands and thousands of people on the day that I was there, and I'm sure that the Sasquatch were aware that all these humans are here, and they probably scattered to the mountains. I'm not really sure, but that's what I was just thinking.
Well, they do. They have migratory paths. They never just stay in one spot for very long.
I see. Okay, okay, so if they are territorial, and how much land do you think that they have their pod in? Is it like a mile, 2 miles? Their territory.
I would say they cover a lot of ground. A lot of ground.
Do they cover a lot of ground because they're looking for food?
Right. Food security, shelter,
I see.
sleeping.
Hmm.
They also have sentries who are watching while everybody else is resting.
Right. And the times that you were out in the forest, Walter, did you find any hair, any fur, and those types of things, and have that analyzed?
There's nothing to compare it to. So we can have it analyzed all we want, and we have had it, within the community it has been analyzed, but there's nothing to compare it to. So
Okay.
you'll always have inconclusive results. And just like Joe says, for the most part they will avoid people. They cover lots of ground. See?
Oh, I see. Okay. And again, I know I've asked a lot of questions, but if we don't ask questions, then we will never learn. And then,
Absolutely. This is why we have this channel.
right. So I appreciate that so very, very much. A lot of my friends who are in the paranormal field, they they do not believe that Sasquatch, Yeti, whatever you want to call this creature from God, that they have nothing to do with the paranormal. And what is your opinion?
We need to study more of these creatures to have a definite answer on my behalf, I would say.
Okay. Okay.
But
And
like I
so,
said, is there paranormal activity? Like I said, I have seen paranormal activity before an encounter, during an encounter, or after an encounter. Yeah, you
I,
have lights of balls of light,
Hmm.
People report seeing balls of light. People report seeing these magnetic disturbances.
Wow. Are they able to drain, the spirit world, that a lot of times spirits will drain a telephone, a camera, and those types of
Oh
things?
yeah, they'll drain batteries. Yeah.
Oh, they will? Okay. Okay. How do you decompress after going out in the forest? When you get back home, how do you process this? Or do you set it aside for a bit, gather your thoughts, do something else, and then come back?
I think every time I go out, I'll go out with Joe. So after, whether we do hear or we don't hear, or we witness or we don't witness anything,
Uh-huh.
we'll talk about it, and we'll try to make sense of what we see. We'll put things in order in our conversation in regards to the events that might have taken place, and and you cannot fully decompress from this because it's constantly in your head. You can't turn it off.
Hmm. So you say that you can't turn it off. Is it because you are so curious about it and
I,
have so many questions that need to be answered?
I think that it's because I find them both amazing and terrifying at the same time.
Hmm.
From not knowing anything to knowing, the balance is completely uneven, and it turns your world upside down. And how do you cope with it? I mean, if I have been lied my whole life uh about a Sasquatch, what else am I being lied about?
I see.
And Joe
Okay.
says, I don't think they do drain batteries. I don't think they're supernatural. There are other factors at play that I don't talk about in public.
Okay. So so again, like I said, Walter, this is very, very fascinating to me. And I know we got kind of off of what of what I was going to talk about, and that's fine, because we all need to learn. We're here to learn. We were created to learn about many, many things. And the Sasquatch, Yeti, skunk ape, they are part of our community at large. You know what I
Most
mean?
definitely.
No. And what I'm sensing and feeling is that, granted, these animals, they of course they throw rocks at us and logs and those types of things, but I think they want to learn about us also. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you really think about it, the Native Americans and them traded uh pelts and for food and whatever, and Sasquatch would bring. I don't know how it is right now. I mean, obviously we're studying them; they're studying us as we cross paths, and that's as much as I know so far.
Right.
Uh, but I hope that we can do it in a very safe fashion where we protect these animals from people that just want to hunt them and do stupid things out there in their home.
Right. Okay. Well, I have learned a lot. I really, and it's one of those things that is, I mean, I know about it, like I said, and I've been to the Everglades with friends of mine who are into the skunk apes and stuff like that, and and they have experienced those. Okay, and so I wanted to go with them. I never experienced anything, and that is okay. It is, and but I want to learn about it, and so I'm, you know what, I just don't have this tunnel vision of just in the spirit world. You know what I mean? I want
Right.
so many different things.
Broaden your horizons, yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of our brothers and sisters are so narrow-minded when it comes. No, I don't believe. They'll believe in spirits, but they won't believe in Sasquatch, or vice versa. You know what I mean? And I think that we should open our mind to many things. You know, because they're out there. There are too many people have different experiences, and sometimes the same experiences with them. And so, do I believe that they exist? Of course I do. I do. Would I like to encounter one? Of course I would. But if I don't, that doesn't mean that I don't believe, you know?
Correct.
So I do believe in them. I do.
Now,
It's
stepping real quick into the paranormal aspect of this,
okay.
what do you see? Do you see anything for us?
Of what? Okay. So you want me to read the old tea leaves, right?
Yeah, let's do that. I think our audience would like that.
So when it comes to, you know what, I really don't have any sense or feeling regarding uh, Sasquatch. I think they are, they are social animals and that type of thing. I
Hmm.
think they're just fascinated with us as we are with them, you know. Um, but I would like, this is going to sound strange, it really would, but I would love at any given time to have the opportunity to encounter a Sasquatch, to see what I would pick up psychically, you know what I mean? And that type of thing. I would love that. I would love that, you know? And so maybe I will have that opportunity sometime. I think that will happen. It sounds like the Sasquatch, they have more common sense than what we humans do.
I agree with you.
They don't have to worry about the damn politics. They don't have to worry about religion. They don't have to worry about paying taxes. Nothing. What they have to worry about is survival. That's
Yeah,
what they,
I have to say that I agree with you.
you know. And so when it comes to the paranormal, again, like I said, Walter, that we're all here on a journey. We all are. And to walk with others on their journeys also is very, very important. Is that Joe?
That's Joe's. He's got to go because he's gonna hit the gym.
Oh,
Swimsuit. He says it's still swimsuit season.
uh, well, Joe, you have a good hi, Jay. And Jason, my friend Jason, I think just commented on things also. But I know, Walter, there's so many things I could get into within the paranormal field, and it would be an honor and privilege for me to be back on sometime. Okay, so I can get into talking about Ted Bundy. I can get in
Love you
more.
too, Joe.
I can talk a more about the children of the paranormal. I can talk about the children and who I'm with in their very last moments of their lives and
Hmm.
what experience with them and such like that. That's one thing within my field, within our field, just not my field, our field, that it is so vast and there's so many things, you know, and so I am here to learn. And like tonight, I learned a lot. I learned more about Sasquatch than any book I could read because you have firsthand knowledge, experience.
And likewise, I mean, this is why we do this. We want to present people with the evidence of things that do happen in our world that
Mhm,
might not be explained through normal channels, and people don't have the platforms to actually come out and say, "Look, this happened to me."
mhm,
They want to make sense of it. They don't have anywhere to go. Just like when people learn that they have abilities within the paranormal society,
mhm.
you don't know what's going on. You're trying to find answers. It might drive you crazy not to know what's going on exactly in our lives, but having people like you, Mr. Riggi, I think in shows like this, not precisely mine, but shows like Joe and uh, Chain Church and those, it helps people. And believe it or not, telling your story of something that has affected you so profoundly,
Mhm,
coming out and speaking about it on a show where you're being understood, you're not being ridiculed, you're being given a platform where you can feel like he knows, you know
mhm. Right.
and it's very therapeutic.
Very much so. And so we can learn from each other. And like I said earlier, that people should not be pigeonholed. They should not be so narrow minded not to at least listen to others and their experiences. It's very, very important, you know?
Absolutely.
And so maybe you will allow me on another time and I
Oh,
can
absolutely. We must do a second part of this show. Absolutely.
I appreciate that because I have so much that I want to share. And it's not that I'm an expert in anything. Well, the only thing I'm expert in is myself. And that's it. You know what I mean? And that's it.
Yeah.
And I learn every day. I learn something new every day. And like tonight, I have learned a lot. It's one thing about reading it, it's one thing about hearing it on the radio, but when you see someone that has actually seen a Bigfoot, has actually had an encounter, a personal encounter with the Bigfoot, and how you felt and how you feel today, you know, that is wonderful. I appreciate your openness. A lot of people would ridicule me because of being a psychic medium and those types of things. People will ridicule you and other people who are in in the field of Sasquatch. And those types of people just don't. They're too narrow-minded. You know, they
Yeah, but
can't.
those are the same people that will see a commercial and call the 1-800 number to ask, "Hey, am I gonna fall in love with this chick?"
Yeah.
You know that's true.
Oh, that's true. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Those damn psychic mediums that are on TV, like Miss Cleo. Remember Miss Cleo years ago? Oh my God, what a hack she was. And then there was Sylvia Brown. Oh my God. Oh, she was a
But
hot.
I wish people would actually see what a real medium is, like yourself.
Mhm.
We're very glad to have you on the show. We hope to do a second part, obviously, and go more into details and experiences. Uh, Today,
Thank
our
you.
time has flown away. This has been a great interview. We've had a great talk, great participation by the audience, and I want to thank you for giving us, your time and sharing with us about you. And
Well,
there's
thank
a
you.
whole lot more that people don't know that you and I have spoken about, and we just haven't gotten around to get to it. But
Until next time.
hopefully, we'll get a second chance to do it.
Oh, yes, please. And Walter, I need to give out some shout outs and my telephone number. Is that okay?
Absolutely, go ahead.
If anyone needs my assistance or has any questions, I can't tell you much about, except for I learned a lot tonight about Sasquatch. Walter is the person to go to. If you have any questions, please go to Walter. Okay. But my telephone number is 309 213 0325. My phone is always on. I'm always available. I, in the past couple months, I've been doing a lot of podcasts and radio programs by the grace of God and letting my story to be told. Okay. And I plan to do more. But I want to thank you, Walter. And I have other people to thank too. The people who really got me to know who you are. And when I reached out to you, Walter, I didn't know if you would allow me on your program or not,
Oh,
you know?
absolutely.
So I reached out to you, and so I thank you so very much. But I have people to think like Ken Allen from the Wizard Table, okay, and also Joe and Shannon Beyond the Woodline. They're fantastic folks. Oh my gosh, they are incredible. Also, my friend Jason and Brandon in the Paranormal Funhouse, also the Midnight Paranormal Society, and they are wonderful, wonderful folks with Mike and George and Maddie and Robert, and they have this platform that anyone can come on and tell their story. Everyone is welcome to come there. They're not judgmental, and so folks, please go to these different groups and you know and listen to their podcast. And Joe and Shannon. Oh my gosh, Joe and Shannon and Mike and George and Maddie from Midnight Paranormal Society, and they're from Texas. They're like family to me now, and so are you, Walter. You
And
know,
likewise.
you make me so comfortable in talking with you. Okay,
We're glad to hear that, and the same here. It's great to have people like you come on the show. We don't care where you're from. If you have something to tell, we are here to listen. We're
hmm
here to help, and we're here to present evidence so that the whole world knows that you're not alone.
thank you. And my motto, Walter, and for everyone is that we are spiritual beings in a physical body.
Absolutely, I love it.
Love, light, and peace to everyone. Walter, again, thank you, and we'll be in touch. And I will do another program with you, and I will get into more detail, specifically about the children of the paranormal or anything you want to talk about. Okay?
Amazing, absolutely. And before we leave, one last time, your phone number so that people can contact you.
Okay, 309-213-0325.
There
I
you go, people. You heard it from Mr. Robert Righi himself. We will have another show with this great man, and hopefully, we will keep learning about each other. And for your interest, and if we can help you in any way, shape, or form, don't hesitate to contact us. Hit that
thank
like, the follow button. Let us know that you're here. Throw a comment. Throw me a message. We're here for you. YouTube, Spotify, wherever you need. We will support you. We will help you in any way we can. And we look forward to a second part with you, Mr. Righi.
thank you so very much. And Walter, sometime if and when I get to Texas, I'm so close to Texas right now. But anyhow, I would like to go into the forest with you and Joe. I really would. I would love to experience that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I hope that we do. So, folks, we are out of time. I would like to thank Mr. Robert Righi for coming on our show and giving us such a wonderful account of experiences and support. And for all of you out there, take advantage of this. There's not a whole lot of people that would go, that far out to come out and say, I'm here to help you. He's giving you his hand. If you're going through any kind of difficulty, you don't understand what's going on in your life, and you're seeing, hearing, don't worry. That's why we're here. Mr. Righi is here to help. And folks, thank you for being here tonight with us. I appreciate you all. You all have a great night, and until Valhalla.
Sit down, strap up, and shut up. Enjoy the ride. We cannot guarantee your safety or your sanity. Enjoy this story. But remember, you'll never get to your destination.